We can model the way that society works as being a bunch of these institutions, each, of course, with their own cartman, their own authority. And this is pretty much how society has worked for centuries now. Of course, in the meantime, there have been improvements to how we can determine whether a message is authenticated. Instead of using telephone calls or signatures, we increasingly use things like elliptic curve cryptography, a branch of mathematics that allows us to know whether someone purporting to be a particular identity is actually that identity without giving any of the information that could allow others to claim the same thing away. Instead of storing things in books, we store things instead on magnetic media or increasingly little microchips, solid-state media. And rather than using abacuses or handwriting arithmetic, we use, of course, silicon. We end up with computers. Unfortunately, while within an institution, the computers can allow things to go much faster than they would otherwise have been going. Between institutions and across trust boundaries, they are of no use. In fact, the world is much like a set of walled gardens. Within the garden, you are free to play. You can you accept the authority of the household that actually owns the garden, but it's very difficult to get between the gardens. In reality, this boils down to banks and various financial institutions having a very difficult time consolidating transactions that go between them. But the more important thing is that as individuals and small business owners, it's very difficult for us to interact with each other if we don't yet know or trust each other. Instead, we have to go to these guardians of society, these intermediaries, these trusted authorities, the middlemen, in order to interact. And this comes down, we can see this every day. If I want to interact with my friends, I go to a website. The website is called facebook.com. I go and contact Mark Zuckerberg's company in order to pass on a message to tell my friends, hey, maybe we should go out. This is not quite the way the world was meant to be. I should not need to contact Mark Zuckerberg in order to actually say hello to my friends. There is a new technology, which was mentioned just before I came on stage, which changes things, which obsoletes this old order. This is my artistic rendition of this new technology. Atop the picture reads, A pluribus unum, from the many, one. And what the technology allows us to do is to come together, globally speaking, and form a consensus. Form a single opinion on what happened and when it happened and what should happen because of it. Effectively, to form a single institution. Now, the institution will operate correctly down to the rules of mathematics and economics that this system works on. In effect, everybody can ensure that the system as a whole is operating correctly from their own point of view. Everybody has the freedom to check. In that sense, blockchain has solved this issue of multi-party contention. And it's done so without having to have redress to a human organization. We don't anymore need to trust, strictly speaking, in order to interact economically with somebody that we do not know. And that's the first time that we've been able to do that in society. Which means, practically speaking, we've just commoditized this crazy asset, probably the most expensive asset to hold of all, trust. And I put it to you that in the future, trusting an opaque institution, a middleman, merchant, or intermediary with our interests will be as archaic a concept as reckoning on an abacus is today. Thank you.